This is an excerpt from a long essay called "The Pleasure Is All Mine." Hallelujah to my back split, to the crown of sweat drowning the skin I swing in. Pray for me, pray for me, pray for me, I will come. The first time I heard Teyana Taylor's "Work This Pussy," a kinetic tribal hit off the latest album, I was gone. The command hit my speaker, and I dropped the wash rag I had been using to clean the dishes into the soapy water, splashing it all over the kitchen counter. I leaned forward over the sink, gripping its hollow metal edge in energetic, instinctive obedience, began to grind my pelvis at a tempo. Memories snapped like neon through me, like flickering holograms, reanimating the claustrophobic corridors of small underground dive bars that led to agitated strobe lights, tight bodies in hot spaces, apple-tinted liquor, and rose-tinted moans. The echo of my past life filled to the brim the dusty corners of my small and empty Central Texas apartment, made my back dip and roll as I popped the Teyana familiar instructions. Work this pussy, work this pussy, work this pussy, made me wonder, how long had it been since my back was blown out? Hallelujah to the tight cut and furrowed lip, tonguing the air with ghost. The beat dropped sharply, and again I flexed, a memory of the many nights that I had been more myself. Nights when I had slipped into the hedonistic club to swim between bodies as a hyphen. Neither woman nor man, straight nor gay, I had been a single chord, vibrating through the chorus of a crowd obsessed with finding euphoric postcoital bliss. Hallelujah to the afterlight, the cool dawn siloed in the belly of my yummy stretch. I wondered at the way their sweating shapes had faded with the decade, became disappointed with how I had moved away from embracing my sexuality as a tool of empowerment, afraid for my name. Somehow, I found myself undersexed and gyrating, barefoot and alone in my kitten-sized kitchen on a Saturday night. How did I let this happen? Maybe I didn't know how, but I knew why. I had become too cautious, swallowing the never-ending list of Black women's names who were going gone. Another on this day, 2 more in the following weeks. Afraid to be added to the growing number of missing queer Black femmes, I had started to gather their photos up like feathers and place them on a small altar next to my bed. Until that night, bent over the kitchen sink and throwing my thighs from side to side, I did not realize that I had also been in mourning. Again, but this time, not for my lover or for my daughter, but for my own body and all of its consequences. How long had it been since I made love? The question hurt, so I turned up the music and allowed Miss Taylor to sing the blues.
Take your time, girl.
Hallelujah to the siphoned curl of my yes, God. I beg nothing of these years but this assertive existence. Cars crawl down the lane, sliding up against the curb and releasing passengers in fits of 2s and 3s, popping their trunks in synchronized expulsions and spitting out luggage. Their doors open and slam shut before hunting for the exit, fanning out and warning each other of their own independent hurdles through the enclosed space, honking obscenities into the concrete of the airport's terminal entrance. I find some small joy in watching metallic slugs maneuver through the crowd, their slick tops rubbing up against each other as they slip through the canal of the drop-off. Half awake, I sigh, grab a hold of my suitcase, and turn just in time to see a man body his lover up against a gray Mazda. Their mouths reach for each other quickly, his hands running down her back to grip her ass. Her fingers grasp the back of his head and pull him in, and I stare, openly, hungrily, before remembering that this is an airport and not a party. I vaguely wonder if their sex is as good as it looks, before turning towards the cool air wafting through the airport sliding doors. Walking into the noisy check-in, I promised myself my own hands when I finally touched down in Jamaica. I recognize now that it is a privilege to travel, to head off into the wild in search of your own definition of freedom, to be assured that you can return home whenever you choose, to hand over your passport and not have to think twice about what will happen when they search your name in a database. It is a privilege for only a few of us, and I am extremely aware of this as I wait for my turn to step through the full-body scanner at the Austin Workstrom in the airport. When I was younger, I lived under the radar, aching for language that could accurately describe what it feels like to live in this body I love, even though it doesn't properly depict my ability to carry more than one identity. I was almost 20 before I had the right word to describe the spectrum of my sexual desires, and 25 before I was confident enough to take ownership of those desires by publicly identifying myself to others. Being a black, non-binary femme pansexual in Trump's boundary-hungry world is frightening. At the time I am writing this, 10 black trans women have been murdered in the US this year. 3 in my home state of Texas. Those are the ones we know of. The shadows of the ones that we don't know of crawl along the walls of my bedroom and haunt my diminutive wig collection in plastic heels, my makeup on the bathroom counter, and my dresses hanging in the closet. I've had the privilege of a body that matches my own view of self, though not always aligning with my complete identity. This body I love in the mirror is coveted, was coveted, and lives were lost in pursuit of it. It has always been dangerous to be black, more so to be woman. How much more dangerous is it to inhabit a body that may require some additional realignments, or a body that hungers for something outside of the heteronormative? The ways in which my body has been confiscated and abused by both white and black men is no secret. The number of black trans women, the number of black women who enter into sex work due to economic deficiencies is frustrating. Not because I think there is something wrong with sex work, but because I know how much closer to death you come when the state refuses to protect you. When it punishes you for providing a service so desperately sought after by criminalizing your body. It is devastating when people like Samuel Little remain free enough to kill dozens for years, snatching up black femme sex workers and turning them into ancestors. The city of Kingston can be seen from the exit of the airport gate, a promising mirage in the distance. Past the fence separating the open land from the foreigners, the tall highway lamps that lead up to the city's heart are lighting up like a yard of fireflies. Their increasingly thinning metal posts disappearing and leaving the orange light to dip and weave above the jagged arch of the mountain they hover over. They seem to fuck along the barely visible road that twists up and off into the distance, the light twisting back and forth in erotic uncertainty. Admiring the mountain's girth, pregnant with little white houses that spot its dark and textured face, I wait for the sun to dig under the horizon and slowly wash the sky in mauve. Even from the airport's patio, I recognize the sagging body of a land that is tired after having given birth to an idea that it no longer recognizes. Though it is not my land, it is shaped like me, and that is an unexpected sort of comfort in this strange place. My hands reach for where I still sometimes feel phantom kicks, and I wonder about a little black girl somewhere in Chicago. I wonder about the time when she and I were the same person, 2 ideas rooted in a dark body. It worries me how everyone seems desperate to pick a side. Even in the queer community, where we are aware of how damaging such rhetoric can be, people are quick to lay claim on a binary code with clear and permanent lines. What still perseveres throughout the community is this idea that fluid genders and fluid sexuality is somehow impossible, improbable, imaginary. That pansexuality is really just an excuse to bump bodies with as many strangers as possible. Well, I mean, I do that too. But my identity as a pansexual is not directly related to my desire for many partners. My sexual desire for bodies that cross the spectrum does not automatically mean I want every body, because I don't. I desire only to express myself genuinely without being deterred by artificial borders, to have the freedom to connect with anyone in any way I choose. Jamaica was paradise, and it only required a passport, window seats, condoms, cash, and fresh skin. I had everything except for the cash. I had finally left the US for authentic jerk chicken, poems on sun-washed patios, and men drenched in melanin and reggaeton. My trip was timed perfectly. I needed a break from witches across America who were hexing President-elect Trump via how-to articles, and from the dialogue that regularly turned into fistfights and fake news. This was my first/last chance attempt to travel the world without the anxiety of Trump's proposed border protections, and I was stuck at the airport. The irony of the situation was not lost on me. The danger of my desire to travel alone, to sleep with a stranger, did not escape me. I'm sorry, my pages. I'm gonna skip. My first gangbang was a birthday gift to myself.
All right.
Oh, y'all ready now? I inhaled and exhaled in the tiny motel hallway, staring at the dark maroon carpet that led from the lobby to the door of the room where everyone was waiting. Stepping inside, I donned my shiny red heels from Target and my best smolder, straightening my back as strangers smiled and lifted their drinks. I had called in a favor from a swinger I knew in San Antonio after growing tired of the vanilla sex from my on-again, off-again boyfriend, Perfecta X. About 11 women and men had showed up for my very special birthday fuck and now lined a tiny room. Most of them still fully dressed, but all of the women relaxed enough to let their shirts hang open. Someone's playlist set the mood on the motel dresser. I knew it was a privilege to be in such a setting, felt the wonder of this moment, so similar to one before, but graciously more forgiving. This was not a frat boy's living room, and these people were not people I had once known and trusted. These were strangers, handpicked to please me, knew that it was important that I basked in their praises as it was so rare. It's so rare for thick scarred bodies like mine to be loved up on and coveted. It is rare for queer black femmes to command the sexual attention of her peers consensually, to have the power and authority to say yes or no and have the decision respected, acknowledged it, and if need be, protected. I basked, I rolled, I sang. The sex that night was like air. Bodies moving through the room in a cloud of color and laughter. All of us trying to find our way into an alternate existence, into another version of ourselves. I left with my panties in my bag and my hips loose. An orgasm was one less major thing on my to-do list, and I could finally get back to work. Queer black femmes are especially struggling to be recognized for more than their fetishized bodies, while maintaining a healthy sexual lifestyle that celebrates and encourages sexual freedom. Ownership and control of our bodies are rights not afforded us and makes every day of our lives a rebellious act. To be reminded by Janelle Monáe in her album Dirty Computer that embracing our sexuality does not negate our ability to be effective activists, but it's in and of itself an act of defiance against the status quo and is therefore an act of activism was exhilarating. By owning my sexuality, embracing it privately and publicly, I worked to disassemble the narrative of shame that has permeated my existence. A picture of Korean Gaines propping her hourglass figure up against the glare of a random car's black hood weeks before she turns to Facebook Live becomes the image that flares up in the back of my mind as I fiddle with my bags. It occurs to me, I will never be safe in my own home or out in the world. Since I was old enough to make babies, I had been something fetish and something dying, a remnant from the war against drugs survived and somehow flourishing in the static hills of Central Texas. I had decided, if I was gonna die soon anyways, I was gonna die doing what I wanted. It's been 3 years since I buried myself in the sheets with another. Suitable partners are few and hard to come by in my rural city. In the first year, I worried I would never again be able to access those important, critically sexual parts of me. I worried that my sexuality has somehow become a deterrent to potential relationships. I realize now, it was not my sexuality that deterred me from connecting with a significant other. It was my desire to create that did. I've had some time now to rediscover myself, to reinitiate myself in the ritual of self-love, a love that is not dependent upon another body or weaponized by another's emotions. Hallelujah to my slick mouth and rejoicing hips. I am the swallow of my reclaimed shape. I gyrate in the mirror, improving my own arc, choreographing my own intimate tour of this reclaimed body. I praise it for its gifts of tolerance and acceptance, grateful for the air still moving through it. I forgive it for not being simple or average or easy to understand. I listen for the women, the black femmes who have come and gone before me, who beg me, for me, and this body to come to an agreement. We will not hide. We will not live afraid. We are going to get our freak on. Bow and bend for me, baby. Suck me and crown.